Takeaway sweet and sour pork, I always remember it as a kid. It was gluggy, it was rich. It wasn't very authentic. So I'm going to show you how to do it in a more authentic way. And we're going to cook our pork in a pressure cooker, so it's going to be meltingly soft. Now we need to make a caramel, and in my Cook For Me we're going to add about 60 grams of caster sugar. And we'll pop that in. And this is on the browning mode, so it's going to slowly turn into a sugar syrup and then become a golden caramel. Now, while that's melting away, let's prepare some of the bits and pieces that are going to go into this. Some spring onions. I'm going to reserve the dark green part because we can still use these as a garnish. So I'll just grab a knife and we'll cut them off. And we'll curl them later, and I'm going to show you that technique. The rest of the spring onions I'm just going to cut into half, and then I like to cut it again just so we've got a nice big clump, and then finally slice it just into rounds. This is going to pretty much dissolve into nothing after it cooks down in our pressure cooker. I love pressure cooking because you get those slow cooked results done fast. You can't beat it. Now to go with our spring onions, about a 2 centimetre piece of ginger, 2 to 3 centimetre piece, and we're going to cut it into strips first, quite thin, and just gather it into bundles, line it up, and finally cut it into strips. All right, let's have a look at the caramel. Oh, how good is this? See how that caramel has formed? That's what we're after, all of that sugar to melt away and become that deep golden colour. Now let's deglaze this with some Shaoxing wine, so just Chinese cooking wine. Black vinegar, Chinese black vinegar, you can get it from all your Asian supermarkets. Some light soy and some dark soy, which is also called ketchup mayonnaise. Fantastic. And we can add all of the spring onions and the ginger, a star anise, and the pork. Now these are called pork spare ribs, or they're also called belly rashers. Essentially it's pork belly that's been cut into little rashers like this. So it's about 1 kilo. We're going to add that to the sauce and completely coat it. Now this is a large capacity bowl, so you could even go up to 1.5 kilos of meat for this recipe. And with a wooden spoon, we're just going to coat the pork in that yummy sauce. And we need a splash of water, about 3/4 of a cup of water. When you're pressure cooking, you don't need as much liquid as you would do this the traditional way in a casserole. So that's plenty. So lid goes on, lock it into place, and we're going to set it to the pressure cooker function. The best thing about appliance pressure cookers is you can put a timer on and just let it do its thing. So I'm going to cook this for about 35 minutes to 40 minutes. We'll press immediate start. Done. The alarm will go off when it is cooked. In the meantime, I'm going to get some of the garnishes ready. So good old capsicum, some red capsicum, and I'm using some canned pineapple. Nothing wrong with canned pineapple for this recipe. It's ready. Let's have a look at it. Oh, the smell of that sweet and sour sauce, so good. And then the pork, it's just so gelatinous, so perfectly cooked. Look at that. That's my favourite part, just there, the skin and the fat. After cooking, it almost becomes jelly-like. It's so good. So we want to take the pork out first and then finish off the sauce. I want to keep the capsicum quite raw, essentially just warming it up because I want the crunch and the freshness of the capsicum. The shine on that, pretty good. And we'll pop this back into place, and I'll just set this to the browning mode again, just so it starts to bubble away. It's already quite hot in there, so it does come up to heat quite quickly. We can add the capsicum now and just coat it in that sauce, so it takes on the flavour, but it still stays quite crisp. Our pineapple, that's that pop of sweetness. And with a spoon, just coat that and warm that through. Just let it bubble away for a moment. And you have to serve this with rice because you want to mop up all that delicious sauce. So I have some steamed rice, grab a spoon, just pop some into a bowl. Okay. Great, that's bubbling away. And that is done. So yummy. Now grab a spoon and we'll add some of that capsicum, sprinkle it over. The contrasting colours is another main reason why you do want to add the capsicum and the pineapple. Yellow, red, all those juices. I'm going to scoop up, pour over the top. Looks good. To garnish, pop of green, our curly spring onions, which I finely chopped and just popped in some iced water into the fridge. And see how they curl up? Just such a great garnish. One last thing, just one little rain of sesame seeds. Done. Now that probably sits at the table for about 30 seconds before you attack, and that's exactly what I'm going to do now. I'll grab a spoon and a fork. I'm going to take that little piece there, it's staring at me. Pop it on the rice, get some of that capsicum, spring onions, and that sweet and sour sauce. Drizzle it over. 40 minutes, set and forget in the pressure cooker, and these are the results. I don't even need a knife for this. Look how tender and soft this meat is. Meltingly tender, I'd say. Like I said, I love that bit of fat there and the rind. Right now, I'm a really, really happy girl.